So the last part of the process for any client is what we call a confirmation day. Some people call it meet the team day. It's the day that the client visits the franchisor to experience everything, to meet the people, to experience the culture, the atmosphere, to try the product if there's something like that. And oftentimes there are stories that come from them that are like, this person did X, Y, and Z, and it's just not going to work out for us as a franchisor. So I want to first start by talking about that, Jason. Talk a little bit about the misconception sometimes clients have around what confirmation day is going to be.
Confirmation day, that is the interview. This is the interview process, right? I think most people get into this thinking, hey, it's wrapped up, I'm ready, I'm going to be approved. But really, that is the final piece of the interview process. The executive team's interviewing you, but also the director of marketing, right? Whoever's in IT, the entire team. It's a social experience, right? But it's also a full interview process from the moment you get there, from how do you network, what are the questions, and do you have the reasons and understanding of why you want that business? So yes, it's an interview process also for the potential franchisee to be there, right? They need to see the team and make sure it's a fit for them as well.
Yeah.
But this is a full interview process that lasts hours upon hours, and the whole team gets together afterwards to determine, I had this conversation with this guy, I had this conversation, right? And they're all comparing notes just to make sure that they're complete. Because this is a long-term relationship. This is 10 years, right? This is long-term. So they really need to make sure you're a fit, not only from a business perspective and can you run a business and what is your outlook and why do you want to run the business, but is this someone that fits our culture and our team, and do we want them to be part of the rest of the culture that we have and all the other franchisees, and finding that fit within a family, because you're almost being adopted into a family, but it's also an interview process. Same time.
I love it. The term interview process is so good because an interview requires a yes from both parties, the person interviewing and the person doing the interview. But what's even more interesting about this is it's like an interview process, but instead of employment, it's a contract you can't really break. And for good franchisors, they recognize this long-term 10-year relationship where we're going to be interacting almost daily has to be a culture fit. And they have to decide this in a very short period of time. So putting your best foot forward is so important during this day or two. So Des, when you're working with clients, how do you offer advice to them on the things they can do to better prepare for those 1 or 2 days?
Yeah. So even before we get to confirmation day, we start talking to the leadership team. We talk to the marketing team. We talk to current franchisees. I want that Zoom on. I want your face showing. I want you asking questions. We're starting that process before you get there. I want them to know who you are and what your name is before you show up, because it makes that interview process that much easier. I'm not as harsh on it. I'll probably call it going on a date with the brand. I get a little fun with it, right? Because both parties have to commit to that yes, right? But there's still that interview process. Other things we prepare for, we want to make sure our funding's in order. We want to be 90% sure we want to purchase this thing, right? So funding's in order. Is the business plan in order? Because you're going to be asked that question. Who's managing this day to day, right? And we get to work through all that beforehand so they come off clean, prepared, ready to go. To me, I will say the biggest thing I say about confirmation day is we want to go get approved. And not because we're going to purchase that thing, but because we want to make sure it's our decision to purchase that thing. We get the yes, but it's our turn to say, do we still want this thing? Because we have that 90%, right? Is that culture something we want to be a part of? So yes, we want to go for the yes, but the results are, do I still want to buy this thing? Do I still want to be a part of that brand? But we got to prepare ourselves, right?
Yep. I love it. I think there's so many good pieces of advice in there. And the 90%, I think, is sometimes a misconception for clients as well. Oftentimes we have to explain, why do we want them to be 90% sure before they go there? Because many times people are like, let me go experience it. Let me check it out. But the reality of it is this franchise, one, is investing in you coming at times. And they also, if it's an in-demand franchisor, may have other people that they've turned the territory down for, or people that are waiting in line. And so oftentimes they need to know you're here, you're legitimate, you're ready to go, so we can honestly say to everybody else, this may not be an opportunity for you. The other thing that it shows is it's a respect of everybody's time, and it shows whether or not you're the type of person that can follow a process and make a decision, which is all very important to a franchisor. Jason, how about you? Any other pieces of advice or nuggets that you offer clients?
I always tell clients, you're going to win, right? You're going to win the approval, so that at the end of the day, it is ultimately your decision, not ultimately their decision whether you get to be right. You're going as the interview process, but you're going to win. And it's all about really thinking that this is a new team that I'm going to partner with. So as much as respect as you want them to show you, you need to do the same and be prepared and have all, and we will walk through multiple questions, right? And get you prepared so that you have all the answers to what those questions might be. But really thinking about, I'm going to show up, put my very best foot forward so that at the end of the day, when I do get approved, you ultimately have the decision to say yes or no whether this is a fit.
Yep. And I think a lot of the work to be prepared for a confirmation day happens in our process, in our Sidekick 7. And what I mean by that is you get so much information and so many questions answered there. If you show up at confirmation day repeating a lot of those questions, what it shows to a franchisor is, well, were you engaged in the process? Were you listening? Were you comprehending? If you're asking about customer acquisition at that point, it's been discussed several times before. Or how much time do I have to open a location? And it's been discussed several times before. That franchisor, maybe not verbally, but mentally, they start to think, is this person retaining the information that we're providing throughout the process?
That are they engaging, right? So are you asking the questions to ask questions, or are you asking questions as it relates to you being a business owner? They make money when you make money. Let's not hide around what kind of happens after that contract is signed. So they want to make sure that you can make money at the end of the day. And I will say too, Jason, going back to that Sidekick 7, Jason does a really good job, and we can all learn from our coworkers here, does a really good job at setting that up in call 2. When we're learning about their goals, hey, 6 to 12 weeks from now, we're going to purchase a business. Does that sound like a right timeline for you? Because I've got a ton of people that I want to work with and give 100% to, but I can't do that for everybody if the timeline doesn't fit. So you're already setting that cadence up for success right out of the gate to make sure that they're prepared to buy, within 10 days, the 90-10 rule of that confirmation day.
Yeah. Expectations from day one really helps them understand that when they do get to that finish line, there's no questions, right? And if they don't have enough questions, they've done all the homework, right? That franchisor is really going to look at them and go, wow, they've done the homework. They've invested in us just as much as we want to invest in them, which makes that decision so much easier. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. I think to sum it up, the reality is if you engage well in the Sidekick 7, doing the majority of your research there so you can get to 90% confidence, and then when you show up at the doorstep of the franchisor and say, I want to be a part of, or I'm considering being a part of this organization for the next 10 years, you treat it like an interview with your best foot forward, you're usually going to be in a pretty good place to win.